Hello everyone, back to today's second video, doing a mini sunny roundup for today's second video. So we're going to have a look at whether it's week to 10 days. We'll also see what's happening in terms of the sea surface temperature. And I've got a little bit on solar activity, although no updated solar tracker today. James is going to have a bit of a rest, I think. And I'm going to start off by having a look at the what's happening with thunderstorms, because there was big storms last night across particularly central southern parts of England and Wales. We've still got a few of those storms from last night rumbling around in the west, but more will be developing through the course of this afternoon. There could be some really nasty storms around this afternoon and this evening, so do take care as you're off out and about this afternoon or this evening down in the southern part of the country. In the north, it's plain sailing. You're under high pressure, and you're going to stay dry right way through the late spring bank holiday weekend. Just to say that today's first video was released earlier on. It's the summer forecast for 2018. So we've arrived at the end of our updates. We've been doing summer updates over the past 3 months. We've come to the end, and we've issued the GWV summer 2018 forecast. So have a look at that video. It's currently here on the homepage. Later on, it will be placed on the summer forecast page with a written summary. And now the long-range bandwagon will begin to move on again, so we'll roll on to our next season from next month, which will be autumn. We'll begin the autumn updates in June, and just to get you prepared for that, going to be a little sneak peek for the autumn coming up later on this afternoon. So we never stop at GWV. As soon as we have one seasonal forecast pushed out, we roll on to the next season. So that's all what's coming up today. Tomorrow we've got the historic video. I'll talk about that at the end of this video, but we're going to begin by having a look at the radar pictures. I think we better deal with thunderstorms first of all. So there were big storms last night across much of the south of the country, and we still have a legacy of those storms over across Wales at the moment. So we've got some across North Wales, and these ones down across the south of Wales. They're very intense. Indeed. Much of the Midlands, East Anglia, central, southern, southeastern England, it's cleared up, so we've had a nice sunny morning, but the clouds are already beginning to bubble up, and these storms, for example, down to south of Oxford, they are storms that have just been developing over the last hour or two, and things will continue to progress in terms of these storms developing through the rest of today. Let's have a look at the lightning detector. This is the weather outlook, by the way. You can find the link to the weather outlook on the links page. So there's our lightning flashes. We've got two main clusters. One cluster of lightning is across North Wales, and another cluster of lightning is down to the southwest of Wales and down into southwest, particularly affecting kind of like the Bristol type area. Some big lightning flashes going on there. Otherwise, not much lightning at the moment. Things have calmed down this morning, but as I say, we can expect more developments through the course of this afternoon. So this is the Arctic pressure chart for today. We've got high pressure still up there over Scandinavia. That's still bringing in these warm to very warm east to southeast winds, with low pressure down to the southwest. That's dragging up instability out of France, and very warm upper air temperatures as well. Those are our upper air temperatures. They're really warm across most parts of the country, especially down in the southeast. This is Cape and lifted. This is telling you the convective potential within the atmosphere. This is for midday, so high levels of Cape across England and Wales mean that when the showers do form, when they bubble up, you can expect potentially quite severe lightning and thunder to be breaking out with those showers. That's this evening. 6 o'clock this evening, still high levels of Cape, particularly so across much of England and Wales too. This is a big precipitation forecast, so this is for midday. Showers bubbling up there across central and western parts of the country through to midday, but by this evening, this is 6 o'clock this evening, things have really developed across England and Wales. So big showers and thunderstorms from much of Wales over into the Midlands and into parts of East Anglia as well. But very far south, you'll notice, close to the south coast, not as many showers there. It's further inland where those showers are building up and really developing. So it's really developing. So if you're down on the south coast, you may not see too many thunderstorms today, but particularly through Wales and the Midlands, possibly up into southern parts of northern England, so sort of South Yorkshire, that kind of area, and Lincolnshire. It does look as though the showers could be quite intense and maybe even a little bit severe through the course of this afternoon, with the risk of flash flooding, fork lightning, very loud thunder, and maybe hail thrown in as well. The showers rumble on into the evening, but by midnight they are significantly losing their intensity. So I don't think we'll have the kind of noisy night that we had last night. I suspect that the showers will peak, and the storms will peak late this afternoon, early this evening, and then they'll quickly fade away through the evening. So actually, by the time we get through to the end of the night, this is 6 o'clock tomorrow, virtual parts of the country away from that southeastern coast, virtual parts of the country have become dry. That's the situation for bank holiday Monday. Very little change. Really high pressure continues to be sitting to our north. We're still bringing in these very warm and unstable easterly winds. The upper air temperatures, they're remaining very warm tomorrow as well, and more high levels of Cape down across the south. So particularly so for Wales and central southern parts of England. That's the precipitation forecast for GFS for tomorrow. Again, the chance of more big thunderstorms, and this time they are down in the south as well. So on the south coast, you might miss out on the storms today, but tomorrow could well get hit by these thunderstorms. Conversely, though, many parts of Wales and the Midlands are having fewer thunderstorms, and all the time Scotland, Northern England, Northern Ireland stays out of trouble, and you just remain mostly dry throughout this bank holiday weekend. Now, these storms are going to be nasty, as I've been saying, so if you can safely take some pictures of the lightning, we always like to feature those in the videos when we get the chance, but do make sure you stay safe. It's best to try and take those pictures indoors, really, and of course never stand under trees or anything like that during a thunderstorm, because when you get fork lightning, it can be really quite a dangerous weather element. So if you get thunderstorms today, if you want them, enjoy them, but do look after yourself if you're planning on taking any pictures. Right, solar activity. So this is what is happening on the solar disk on outside of this today from solarham.net. We've got two little sunspot regions, but essentially solar activity is at very low levels and is forecast to remain at low levels for the next 3 days. And so we haven't got the GWV solar activity tracker this week. That will return next week, but this is showing me sunspot number progression through this solar cycle number 24. This is from, I think this is from NOAA, not NASA. This is from NOAA in America. So this is where we are right now, just to show you that we are pretty much at solar minimum. We may be a little way off solar minimum still, a few months, but you can see the last solar minimum looks like that, around 2007 to 2009, and solar minimum itself occurred at the end of 2008, I think. So we're at that kind of level now with solar cycle number 24. We're down at a very, very minimum level of solar activity, kind of like where we was back around 2008, 2009, that sort of period. So pretty much at solar minimum, and we can expect very weak solar activity to continue, probably weakening even more actually over the next sort of months, over the next few months to a year or two. The solar tracker will return next week, and we've got Solar Sunday coming up in a couple of weeks as well. I think that's penciled in for June the 11th. This is how things are looking in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies. We've got the Pacific, which is, of course, just here. The Pacific Ocean is there. Atlantic Ocean is over there. That's how the oceans were looking this time last week, when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. This is the latest, and, well, still further weakening of the ENSO signal is continuing through the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean. We are losing the La Nina signature that we have had over the past few months. So we're back to ENSO neutral. We did the ENSO update on Friday, and we revealed that we are back virtually to ENSO neutral now, and possibly looking at the chance of a weak central base Modoki El Nino through the second half of this year. I don't think it'll be a super Nino. There's no evidence it's going to get particularly strong, but we may get a little bit of a warm event going through the second half of the year. Have a look at the ENSO update for more about that. In the northern part of the Pacific Ocean, also fairly warmish oceans up there. Things are warming up a bit in the northeastern part of the Pacific. In the Atlantic, we've got a very, very odd and striking looking pattern. So we've got this very cold sea surface temperature anomaly pattern up there close to Greenland, and then it turns really warm with the sea surface temperature anomalies through the central part of the northern Atlantic before it turns quite cool again down across the tropics. That's a really odd looking sea surface temperature anomaly profile that we've got there in the Atlantic at the moment. Close to the UK and Western Europe we remain with these cooler than average sea surface temperature anomalies, although you'll notice the seas around the UK and down to the Bay of Biscay are warming up a lot at the moment, also warming up through the Mediterranean. This is all a result of the warm weather that we've got at the moment. These are shallow waters, the Bay of Biscay, the North Sea, kind of like the Atlantic coast around the UK and through the Med. They are all shallow waters and they are prone to rapid temperature changes with the weather. So if you get a few weeks of warm weather, such as we're having at the moment, then you will see the sea surface temperature anomalies in these shallow waters very, very quickly warming up. These sea surface temperature anomalies out in the deeper waters of the Atlantic Ocean around these sort of areas, they are more significant. The temperature changes there are slower and happen over much longer periods because they aren't as prone to chopping and changing with the changing weather conditions. So those sea surface temperature anomalies are the ones that can particularly impact the weather patterns at times. Have a look at the Arctic Oscillation next. Let me see if the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast chart. Let's just zoom in a little bit. So it's telling us where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation, or the black line is telling us where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. Red line's at the end where the GFS symbols forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. So we had the negative spell of the Arctic Oscillation through March and into the middle of April. That period just there was generally a negative phase of the Arctic Oscillation. Since around the middle of April, we have been trending positive with the Arctic Oscillation, generally in positive territory. This is where we are right now, going into the second half of May, or virtually at the end of May, of course, now, and we find ourselves still on the positive side of the neutral with the Arctic Oscillation, but less so than we was back earlier in the month. GFS ensembles generally forecasting us to stay close to neutral or maybe on the positive side with the Arctic Oscillation. So at this stage, there's no sign of northern blocking appearing. Northern blocking in the summer is normally quite a bad sign because you'll tend to get high pressure stuck over Greenland, and underneath it you'll get low pressure, which tends to be wet and very cool in the summer in Western Europe. There's no sign of a blocking feature appearing over the Arctic in terms of the Arctic Oscillation at this point, but it looks like we just keep the Arctic Oscillation generally slightly positive or close to neutral conditions. North Atlantic Oscillation observed and forecast looks like that. So again, black line tells where we've been with the NEO, the red lines at the end where GFS symbols forecasting the NEO to go. So along with the Arctic Oscillation, we saw the North Atlantic Oscillation going into its negative phase through March and into the middle of April. Then since middle of April, we've been in the positive phase of the NEO. We remain in the positive phase of the NEO right now, and the GFS ensembles are generally forecasting us to stay in positive territory. There are a few outlier members that are going down to negative NEO conditions, but those are not particularly well supported. Most of the GFS ensembles seem to be keeping us either at NEO neutral or slightly positive. So it looks like we continue with the signal that we've had through the second half of this spring, which is for quite a lot of westerly winds, quite a lot of southerly winds, I should say, southwesterly to southerly, and a fair amount of high pressure influence could be expected as we go through into the early part of June. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. The next couple of weeks, we're looking at time of today. Someone's asked me to have a look at time of. So we find that the red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average. So for next week, this is 1st of June just here. We remain significantly warmer than average. As we go through this first week of June, just there, a little bit of a split appearing within the GFS ensembles. We have got some members that are going rather cooler, but most of the ensemble members are actually holding up quite well with the upper air temperature. So the ensemble mean, which is this white line, and that's taking each individual ensemble member, each individual line of spaghetti, if you like, and coming out with a mean line for all sort of 20 plus members, that stays above the red line. So despite these cooler members that are appearing within the GFS ensembles for this 1st to 2nd week of June, most ensemble members are still keeping it warm, and that's why the ensemble mean, the white line, is holding up warmer than average through that early part of June. Nevertheless, just perhaps hints of a little bit of a cool down appearing as we get through into the 1st week of June. These are the surface temperatures for Tynemouth, and we can see, because it's very close to the North Sea, there's not a big deviation from maximum to minimum. So we just keep flatlining at this sort of level, which is kind of fairly low actually. Most parts of the country are way above this, so into the mid to upper teens Celsius, essentially, with the surface temperatures close to that east coast, despite the fact that the upper air temperatures are very warm at the moment. As far as precipitation is concerned, it looks really dry up in the northeastern part of the country, so hardly any rainfall spikes coming up until getting to the 1st week of June. Then there's a few precipitation spikes appearing, but certainly not definitive precipitation by any means. So that's a very dry ensemble, really from start to finish. Even those precipitation spikes that's going on in the extended range, they are very minimum or minimal in level. So a lot of dry weather in the east and the northeast will continue. Right, so this is for GFS for Wednesday. Still the same broad pattern continues that we've been in for some time now on Wednesday, which is high pressure to our north, low pressure remaining to our south. The wind is coming in still from an easterly direction, but the air is originating south of east from that sort of direction. So we still continue to pull up very warm upper air temperatures, and with below pressure to our south, there's a chance of more showers or thunderstorms across southern parts of the country. That's how we go into the end of the week, all looking rather strange with the weather patterns. But essentially the broad pattern is continuing with high pressure to the north and the northwest, and slack low pressure close to the country, which could bring more showers, possibly thunder, down across the south. That's next weekend, and by Sunday the 3rd of June, probably shifting a little bit more towards high pressure. So I suspect as we get through to next weekend, the shower risk may ease down a little bit. Although even then, down in the south, the pressure still looks rather weak, and I think there could still be the risk of heavy showers or storms even into next weekend down across the south. But the bulk of the country is actually under this ridge of high pressure. The ridge is a little bit centred to our west, so it's trying to start to pull in some cooler air from the northwest towards Scotland. But essentially that's still a pretty warm weather pattern going through to next weekend. Beyond that, the GFS takes that high pressure further northwest, so this takes us up to day 10, and we start to move that high pressure up to Greenland, starting to push it up to the south of Greenland and Iceland, and that's beginning to turn the winds into the north. That's putting down much cooler air from the north, so that's how we look by day 10. We are in a much cooler weather pattern then. High pressure is out to the northwest, low pressure is over Scandinavia, and the wind is coming down from the north. So obviously within the GFS ensembles, this would be one of those cooler ensemble members. We did see with the ensembles that this is not the most likely outcome. The most likely outcome is that we keep the high pressure close to the country and we keep the upper air temperatures warm. But obviously there is the chance that we might take this high pressure, at least temporarily, out to the west of the country and possibly pull down some much cooler air. We have been in a very prolonged spell of warm weather now, so you would expect something to happen soon that changes the weather pattern, at least for a while. What will probably happen is that the high pressure comes back from the northwest and starts to warm us up again as we go further into June. But you would expect at this point that we might start to see a bit of a cool down from this very warm spell that we've been in for quite a long time now. Beyond day 10, this is Thursday the 7th of June, where we have the high pressure still out to the west, low pressure to our east, still bring down these rather cooler northerly winds. And then in the very extended range, it does turn quite unsettled actually. It looks temporary, but that is bringing some rain in from off the Atlantic as we get through into the second week of June. That's very, very speculative, of course. Finally, the ECMWF looking like that. So the high pressure is to the north of the country as we go through to Wednesday. Low pressure to the south, so the same. Broad situation is continuing warm, but with risk of heavy showers or storms down in the south. This continues into next weekend, but with time, it looks like through next weekend, high pressure is building across the country. So gradually the shower and thunderstorm risk looks like it's easing down, particularly by the time we get through to next weekend. And then we go up to day 10 and we keep that high pressure very close to the country. So that's how we look at day 10, which is Wednesday the 6th of June. High pressure just centred over top of the country. Will be plenty of dry and still pretty warm weather with that through the first week of June. So that's how it's looking. No dramatic changes in the next week anyway. It looks like it's going to be staying pretty warm to say the least, and there will be risk of more showers or thunderstorms down in the south. Lots of those coming up this afternoon and this evening, of course. In the more extended range, possibly hints of something a little bit cooler arriving through the first week of June. But we saw it's not convincing yet on the GFS ensemble, so I think we have to wait and see on that. We've got two options. So either option is that we take the high pressure to the northwest and pull down some cooler air from the north, at least temporarily, or we just keep that high pressure as the ECM is doing, centred over the country, which would keep us generally pretty warm. But we would lose for shower and thunderstorm risk. So obviously we'll be keeping you updated on that in the next few days. Right, so that's your shortened sunny roundup. Don't forget to check out the GWV.com summer 2018 forecast. It's currently on the homepage. It'll be placed on the summer forecast page later on today with a written summary. We'll be rolling on to autumn with a sneak peek for the autumn later on this afternoon as well. And then tomorrow we've got the historic weather video. We'll be looking primarily at the summer of 1959, but that actually includes most of the year of 1959, as it was an incredibly extended summer, starting really early in the year and finishing very late. So it actually covers most of the year of 1959, and that will be your Bank Holiday Monday historic video. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.